Devi, and we are now on the 10th verse of studying Kali Maa through the Kali Sahasranama. So those of you who have been following along, you know that the Kali Sahasranama is 1008 names that help us become acquainted and understand the Holy Mother. So before we get started, let's do our opening, cleansing, and prostrations. We'll begin with 3 ohms to open up the energy field, as well as clean, clear, and ground our energy, and of course give prostrations to the Mother's son, Ganesha, who is the remover of obstacles and the guardian of the Mother's mysteries. So let's go ahead and begin with our hands in heart center. And set your intention for your studies of the Holy Mother. Come with a pure, clean heart and mind. Inhale. Second time. Third and last. Aum. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Ekatantaya vidmahe Vakratundaya dhimahi Tanno Danti Prachodayat. Om Namo Bhagavate Ekatam Sraya Hastamakaya Lambodharaya Uchista Mahatmane Om Krom Rim Gege Swaha. Check my internet. Make sure for the words of tonight's names. Remember, I always the video follow along. So tonight's verses: Mālinī, naramuṇdālī, galatrudhirabhūṣaṇā, raktacandanasiktāṅgī, sindūrāruṇamastakā. Now, when we look at each name, remember, I help break them down and look at them from her standpoint. So most of the first lines are from Kali Puja book, but when we look further into the breakdown, the Sanskrit translation, we get a much deeper understanding of each of these holy names of Kali Maa. So tonight we go over name 69 through 73. Now, name 9. Now, before we get started also, I want to say tonight's names have a lot to do with blood. And so we'll be talking specifically about blood sacrifice and animal sacrifice. And also I'll be sharing why I do not do certain practices as a Kali devotee. So let's go ahead and start with name 69, Mālinī. Mālinī is described as she who wears a garland of skulls. And we know that this is classic Kali Maa iconography. But Mālinī also means the form of the mother who is sweet smelling, or one who makes garlands. Now, Mālinī is also understood as the form of Kali Maa who is the embodiment of the garland of the Sanskrit alphabet. Many of us know that is also referred to as the Varnamala. So recitation of the Varnamala, as we've talked about before, is one of the most powerful ways to consecrate yourself, to offer your entire being to the mother. Good evening, Florentino. Now, the Varnamala, or the Sanskrit alphabet, is also called lingua divina, or the divine language. It's a Sanskrit language. And the garland of skulls, interestingly enough, when somebody recites the Sanskrit alphabet, it's one of the original forms of yoga nidra. So they call it the matrika nyasya. And nyasa is the systematic application of certain sounds, certain mantras, certain mudras to purify and create a divinity inside the body, or to offer your entire self. Now, here in the West, like if you go to a westernized yoga teacher training program, let's say, or a Western yoga studio, you're most likely going to run across something that's called yoga nidra, the practice of yoga nidra. But one of the oldest forms of yoga nidra is the application of the garland of the alphabet. So what's beautiful about the older form of yoga nidra is you go deep within inside your mind and you consciously rotate your mind and your attention while placing each of the 50 sounds of the Sanskrit alphabet. And if you've done this before, you'll find out that the top of the head to the throat are all of the vowels. And these vowels bring forth and consecrate us with the energy of the Holy Father, Shiva, pure consciousness. And then the consonants taper across the arms, the legs, down to the fingertips and toe tips and the trunk. And that brings the purification process and installation of the Holy Mother. So when we are working with garland, the garland of skulls, or the garland of the alphabet, we understand that this is the mother, always in union with the father also. You can't have the mother and the father separate. They're always together. And when we do this practice, we are also purifying the subtle body. So if you go through and if you look at images of the chakras, the psychic, emotional, subtle body centers, and you look at the 6 primary axial ones from the root, the Muladhara, up to the third eye, and you count all of the petals, there's 50. So when we do this original garland of the alphabet, or garland of skulls, then we are purifying all of the petals of the chakra. So the first name for tonight, name 69, Mālinī, she who is sweet smelling, or she who makes garlands. Or from the puja books, it's defined as she who wears the garland of skulls. All right, name number 70, naramuṇdālī, naramuṇdālī. And this generally means she who holds the head of a human. Now, if you break that word down, that name down, nara means human, and munda is head or skull. So when I learned from my spiritual father, I was taught that when you go into ritual with Kali Maa, the Holy Mother, that the highest offering you can give is your head. So you'll commonly see devotees of all sorts of different types, not just Kali Maa devotees. They'll fully prostrate onto the ground, and at minimum, they offer their head. So surrendering important. And what do we surrender? Why is she holding this head? Because it's our ego the mind's vrittis, the vasanas, the things that are conditioned in our consciousness that separate us from understanding pure divinity, or at minimum, deeper divinity. So name number 70, naramuṇdālī, she who holds a human head. What do you think about that name? A lot of times these are very off-putting images, but they're very, very deep in meaning, especially when we understand how we can offer our head. I love it when we have ritual here and we have a big coconut, and you take the coconut and make it a big offering, and it often is not only a representation of food for the mother, but it's a skull. All right, name number 71. Galatrudhirabhūṣaṇā. This means from the garland of skulls around her neck drips blood. So again, classic Kali iconography. Now, if you look at the word deeper, gala means throat or neck, and rudhira means blood or blood colored, and bhūṣaṇā is an adornment or ornamented with. So the classic imagery of Kali Maa, I'll turn this, maybe you can see with the lighting. You can see that the heads, they all have the red color in between, indicating that they are severed. Now, when we look at this garland of skulls, we've talked about this in several different of the episodes, that this blood is a very important representation. And Kali Maa herself is often called the Blood Mother. Now, I wanted to take the opportunity to talk about blood tonight, as well as blood offering and sacrifice. So this is a very deep topic. I'll just be checking off the tip of the iceberg this evening. But when you are a Kali devotee around at different practices in Kali temples, etc., sometimes people are unsure about the blood practices. So one of the things that is commonly practiced is the offering of blood, whether it be real blood, your blood, or animal's blood. Here at the Yale Drive Ashram, we never offer animal blood. We are 100% vegan. And so I want to talk about some other forms. And I want to start off by saying that if you give blood offerings to the Holy Mother, that it should only be done in highest reverence. And I highly, highly recommend that you have a living teacher in a bona fide Kali Maa lineage, because it can be very dangerous and unpredictable. So that being said, one of the forms of blood that is commonly offered is a woman's menstrual blood. Blood. It contains endometrial lining. It contains old days, and the tradition women would menstruate directly into it in special offerings at special times. But like I said, if you're with blood, have a living bona fide teacher of a Kali Maa lineage. Now, animal blood is a common thing. If you go to old temples in India, you may see animal sacrifices in the name of Kali Maa. Here, we do not believe in any type of animal meat consumption or blood sacrifice of an animal, because Kali Maa is already the mother of that animal, and it's not up to us to take the life of that animal. However, one of the wonderful things that my tantric teacher taught me is what the blood of those animals mean, in a more esoteric meaning, rather than the actual sacrifice of the animal. So let me pull my notes up here. So a goat represents kama, lust. And when I'm working with Kali Maa, I often ask her, I sacrifice, I give my lust to you, Mother, to be taken and transformed into useful energy that I can apply here and now. The buffalo head or buffalo blood indicates krodha, anger. And when we go into deep workings with the mother, we ask her to take our anger, to turn it into a usable fuel, usable prana, and not a just leaking out rajasic demonstration of our ego. Now, the third is a cat. The cat, or the blood of a cat, which we don't sacrifice animals around here because A, that's not polite, it's not nice, and it's not up to us to take that animal's life. But a cat represents lobha, or greed. Now, a sheep represents moha, delusion, and a camel represents envy. But one of the most important representations is the human. And the human head or human blood represents mada, which is ignorance or even insanity. So when we work with the Holy Mother, it's very important to offer all of these things to her, and not the forms of animals, but from our animal nature, to ask that the animal natures inside of us be uplifted, to be liberated, and to turn into something that is spiritually useful rather than a deterrent to our advancement. Now, when we look at working with Kali Maa, we talked a little bit about the alphabet, the garland of skulls, Mālinī. One of the beautiful things is when we apply the garland of skulls to the body, we are purifying our blood. And the highest offering that we can give the mother is our entire being. Every drop of blood, every ounce of flesh, every bone in our body. And that's the ultimate sacrifice. Let's look at name number 72. It's also along the lines of blood. Raktacandanasiktāṅgī. Let me say that again. Did I say that correctly? Raktacandanasiktāṅgī. Now we've seen the section of the word angi before, but let's look at each section word piece by word piece. So the general understanding of this name is she whose limbs are covered with red sandalwood paste. So some of the images of Kali Maa aren't just blood everywhere. A lot of it is sandalwood paste, vermilion, sindoor. And raktacandana is red sandalwood paste. Astika means or smeared or anointed, and angi means limbs. So some of this red goriness that people assume is all blood is not. Many of them are ritualistic markings or sindoor, vermilion paste. Now, red sandalwood paste is highly, highly prized in Ayurvedic medicine. It's used for cosmetics, ritual purposes, and medicinal purposes. And the word chandam, chandana, means wood for burning incense. And it also means glowing or shining. And red sandalwood is specifically used for making aromatic powders, oils that are used not only for beauty products, but also for ritual purposes. And a lot of times you'll see it applied to the third eye as a tilak. And this brings medicinal healing to the cranium. It is cooling, it is calming, It opens up the mind channels, it stabilizes the third eye, and it's also an indication of consecration to the Holy Mother, as well as devotion, and brings higher states of consciousness. So it's very, very useful. Another thing that's interesting about chandana, red sandalwood, is it's described as Lakshmi Ma, embodied in botany. And if you've been listening along, Lakshmi Ma is the mother of prosperity. And we talked in one of the other episodes about Lakshmi also being the equivalent to Kamala, the 10th Dasha Mahavidya, bringing about spiritual prosperity, material prosperity, and dharmic prosperity. Okay, one last thing about red sandalwood and the name raktacandanasiktāṅgī. So in Charaka Samhita and Sushruta Samhita, these are classical Ayurvedic medical texts. They highlight the use of red sandalwood specifically for the treatment of fevers, internal heat, and blood disorders. So I always like in these verses, a lot of the names are grouped together with a similar theme. So you can see these names have a similar theme of red and blood. All right, name number 73. This is the last one for this evening. Sindūrāruṇamastakā. Sindūrāruṇamastakā. And this means she whose forehead is marked with the vermilion of love, which brings the light of wisdom. So let's break down the actual pieces of that name. Sindhura, we know, is a classical vermilion colored medicament or paste that's typically red, maroon, sometimes a little more on the orange side, and it's commonly made from turmeric and lime. I just made a batch the other day. And some formulations, you do want to be careful if you pick up sindoor for ritual purposes, if you're going to apply it to your actual body, because some contain artificial dyes, which are harmful, and some also contain lead. So I prefer to buy from sources that are organic and pure. And if I can't locate some, just make it yourself. You can look it up on YouTube, how to make it. It's very simple. You could do it in like half hour. Other times the sindoor is made from kumkum or hibiscus pigment, marigolds, or, as we just got done covering, red sandalwood. Now, if we look at the segments of the name sindūrāruṇamastakā, aruna means red and mastika means head or forehead. And you'll see this sindoor often applied not just to the third eye as a tilak, but also to the part of a woman's hair. And this is often associated with the fact that she has just been married or is married, but it's not exclusive to married women. It's also an indication of bringing auspiciousness, the protective power of the mother, as well as fertility and feminine power. One last thing about sindoor. When it is applied to the third eye, sindoor indicates the flame of the consciousness being awakened. It indicates the life blood being applied, and it's also the red energy of the goddess mother. Sometimes you'll also see people apply the red sindoor to the head of the mother. Like if you have a statue on your altar or a framed picture, you'll see people will apply it. And sometimes in personal usages, it's also mixed with blood. But don't worry, if you've been here, I don't mix it with blood. It's just pure sindoor. In Ayurveda, sindoor is an herbal mineral preparation that's used for rasayana. Rasayana is a rejuvenative karma. And interestingly, it's used to purify the blood and used to treat heart disease. So all of these names had a common theme, red and blood, hence why I wore my red shirt for this evening. And let's go back and review the names. So verse 10 of the Kali Sahasranama, I have the words typed in the description. Also, if you're not subscribed, go ahead and hit subscribe or like so that you can catch the rest of these. And the names for tonight, Mālinī, naramuṇdālī, galatrudhirabhūṣaṇā, raktacandanasiktāṅgī, sindūrāruṇamastakā. So hopefully tonight helps you connect with the mother in different ways. Hopefully you can see her around you and incorporate different practices and develop a deeper relationship or a deeper understanding of her. So let's go ahead and close tonight's class out. Bring our hands to heart center. And we visualize offering our entire being, our head first and foremost, emptying out our ego to the mother. What things are in our ego that causes complications in life, miscommunications, separation from our own internal divinity? What types of things in our head, in our ego, causes us pain, suffering, represented by the animals, envy, anger, lust, greed, the cat, the camel, the buffalo, the goat. And we visualize offering all of our blood to the mother, inviting the mother in, if you so choose to circulate her life-giving energy in every blood cell, every blood vessel, every little tiny capillary, every organ, every muscle, every bone, every nerve. Whether we choose to do that or not, that is already what is happening. So may you feel the ease and the grace of the mother inside. And until our next meeting, Te Ma.